What's up, my friends? Hope everyone is well. Here we go. Good to see a handful of people already here. Oh, yeah. Dylan, Ashley, Benjay. How's it going, everyone? Drop a comment if you are here. I'm going to be working on some more music today. If you were in the stream last week, let me know. Let me know if you were at that stream. We're going to be doing something similar today where I am... Oh, shoot, wrong button. Here we go. I've got a session already rolling here. I started work on this yesterday, and so I'm going to zoom out here. Oops, come now. So I have through course 2 basically here, and we will be finishing as much as possible. So these are kind of how we're going to do these live streams. This is actual music I'm working on. I'm not just like live streaming just for the sake of live streaming. I'm doing this because I have work I have to do, and I might as well live stream and show you guys what's going on. And so if you have questions, feel free to ask, but no guarantees that I will be able to stop and answer those because, yeah, I'm really trying to crank this out. So this one is one that we do not have lyrics hashed out yet. This is an example of one where I'm building the instrumental arrangement as we work on co-writing. I'm co-writing this with a vocalist out of California. And so she and I were going back and forth yesterday. So we've already got some concepts and stuff like that worked out, what key to do it in, all that jazz. My job today is to finish the arrangement, finish the whole structure of the song, get this sounding as good as possible without vocals, and then we're going to start dialing in the vocals as the week goes on. So I'm just going to show you what we have so far, top to bottom. I'm going to go ahead and collapse some of these track stacks here so it's a little bit easier to see. And we're going to go ahead and rock and roll. Here we go. Vocals will come in here. Verse 2. All right, so that's what we got so far. Alex, good question here. So why do I not have region color to auto assign? I like just controlling the color, and I don't know, for some reason this is like kind of OCD about stuff, and I like doing things by hand. I also, there's some of those things too, like editing wise, that like I could probably do things a little more automated and I just choose not to because I enjoy the process. So, okay, so the very first thing that's really bothering me that I'm going to work on is these legato strings just do not sound that great. So this was literally like maybe an hour to an hour and a half worth of work yesterday to get this started. And I am now going to just try to dial in some of this stuff right now. Here we go. Eddie Walker from Elkhorn. Nice, I'm like a couple hours from you. Okay, I gotta pull these forward. String programming like this is just a little tricky when you want to have these really nice realistic sounding strings. They need to overlap a little bit. This is kind of the key to getting strings that sound great. I'm also going to just compress this a little bit more. Where is that? That's a little better. What's up, Brandy? Okay, this needs to overlap a little bit as well. Da-da. Steve's cooking. I don't have Albion one actually, so I'm not totally sure what I think about it. I have friends that swear by it, but I just... All right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm copying this down and then I'm going to drop it an octave for the second violin. That way we've got an octave of this like this. Okay. The question, what do you listen for in cinematic pop strings? Man, that's that'd be hard to kind of like hit on quickly. A lot of it is just like note transition, like moving from one note to the next. If it doesn't sound realistic with those legato patches, then I just don't use it, which it's, the best ones in my opinion are the one that I'm using right now, which is the chamber strings. Spitfire's chamber strings are really good. The problem with chamber strings is they're chamber strings, which means they just don't sound as huge. So I will very likely, in fact, you know what? Let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and create another one using native instruments for this legato patch. So we'll just go ahead and use string ensemble. Let's do violins. There we go. And I probably want to make sure I said this way. Da, 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 da. If you have this specific library, go into the mixer window and then getting away from the stereo mic position and going to close and mids is something I like. I like turning off the reverb. I want to have total control over this. Here we go. This is what this will sound like now. Yeah, with this one, you don't want to have these notes overlap as much. Can you hear how there's like just this kind of drag on the notes? That's because these notes are overlapping a little bit too much. So we're going to go ahead and do it like that. We don't want them to overlap quite as much or else it sounds like a little wonky. We still want a little bit of overlap. Dun, dun, like that. Here we go. And I will compress this a little bit. All right, in context. Then Raum is my favorite, especially for strings. Cool, I'm liking that. question, what am I making the song for? This is for licensing. Come on now. Noah, I don't really use drum presets. I more or less will find stuff I like on my own here. 2, 3, 4. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? Let's just make this faster. I've already got the articulation set that I want. Boom. Boom. Okay, just need to get those triggers set up. Okay. French horn. Flub in there. All right, I like that. I will say the Native Instruments brass is really good. Resolve that. All right, we're getting there. So I want to have like a kind of a I think I'm gonna find something with hammers and waves here. Love the Obscura Grand. And I think I'm going to use one of these ethereal presets. That's cool. I want a really vibey. Yeah, we'll probably do this with the vocal as well when we get the vocals. Something like that. So we just need to figure out don't want something that takes too sluggish. Come on now. You know what? You know what? I'm gonna do it with the French horn, I think. Yes, the streams get saved. Ooh, there we go. I want that like sinister kind of vibe. And you know what? I think I'm gonna do some trumpets with that. Well. I dig that. Pretty happy with us here. All right, I want to do something a little more pulsed here, which I'm going to go for something like this. Pulsate. Like that. There we go. literally just hung out on that one chord. That's nice. Pulsed fractals. Let's make that yellow. I think I want to maybe manipulate this a little bit. We're supposed to get like a foot of snow today. All right, and then this is gonna be like some big. Start the hits, baby. I think that's the only one that we're going to do there. And then we'll go ahead and do some riser stuff into this. I probably should do something else like this one. 4 bars. Heyo. Me likey that. There's 1. That's cool. And then we need to do some more. That right there is because I have ozone on here. I'm going to turn that off. I think I like that one. Filtered out just a smidge. Wait. I know. The anvil hit is from damage. Yeah, it's from the metals. Dang, I think I need to perform that out a little bit different. This is the thing you need to know about these string libraries. They all react very differently to these like staccato type things. I mix my own stuff. Mess that up. There we go. Now we got to figure out a bridge. Alrighty, I like that. 1, 2, 3. Something like that. Oh. Yeah, this is for licensing. This is one of mine. I'm co-writing it with a vocalist, another vocalist who will be singing on it. Her name's Ariana. Last week's stream that I did, that was with another vocalist and writer. Her name is Sailor. This one's with Ariana. This is my first collaboration with her. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. Maybe there will be lyrics here, maybe not. I'm going to kind of do it as if maybe it'll be less lyrical and more just instrumental, and then we can always kind of hash things out. Okay, this is a good question about artist consent. So this is not for an artist. This is my song. I own the song. This is my song. I own the master to this song. So this is going to be, I will be distributing this. I'm at a point in my career, if you will, where I do very little client work, where I am not going to be involved in owning masters. Basically everything I'm doing now is not for artist releases, but are instead for catalog stuff, like, or my own releases. So this will I will most likely be distributing this song through my own artist channels. So I don't need an artist consent because I am the artist. It's just, I'm featuring a vocalist on this stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the short answer. This question about where will I distribute, it just depends. The focus is licensing right now, but in many cases, I can still distribute like on Spotify and wherever else, like all the typical distribution channels. System has been really driving me nuts. That was early. Ariana Grande. No, not that one. Feel like she probably wouldn't be singing on something like this. It's just an assumption, but you know, it's an educated guess. I'm using Ecamm Live for live streaming. Gonna change that to a cymbal ride. Oops. Let's duplicate that over. You know what? I don't like that symbol very much. I like it a lot better. Don't like those. Uh-oh. Come on now, don't die on me. I think my keyboard just died. No. Okay, well, we'll be... Oh, there it is. Came back. Jeez. Alrighty. Alright, we'll use some of these drums. Kind of want to do like a little. Want to do a roll. No. And this will be chorus. I overdid it. I did it too much. That's what I get. There we go. That's better. Okay. That's pretty funny. Uh-oh. How does that not have... Okay. Logic. Come on now. Rise. back. We're back. This is when Logic is like, yeah. Okay. Da, da. Dun, da, 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 da. Two, three, four. Ah, might be nice if it was the right chorus. Ah. F sharp. D sharp minor. Except not that last chord, because I started out as a minor. I don't want to do that. The end. There we go. And that's how we'll end it. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Me likey. It's cool. Just gonna kind of listen to the start of this. Okay, so what I want to do is kind of work on this bridge section again. I'm sorry, but this is just mediocre. Yeah, I'm like literally still in the middle of freaking making this thing, dude. Take a chill pill. It's gonna be okay. Gotta love it. All right, we're gonna arp this. Cool. Changed my mind. I don't like that. I think I'm gonna go ahead and just use Substance. Substance. It's my go-to bass engine. Bum 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 bum. Yeah. I love this one. It's got a low sub part, pulsing, arp, bass. Go. Can I cook? Yeah, I cook. Oh, that's why, because I still have the arp on. It's hilarious. What the? Ah! Okay, so this is what we need to do. We need to go in this guy and make it distort probably a little bit more. Da da da. Bring down the volume a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Bring those down. There we go. Let's see. That's. Yeah, this. Okay. I get it. I need to roll off all that stuff. It's really competing with the bass. We're gonna sidechain this because that's really Butch Vig. Where are you? You know, I really wish Butch Kick. There it is. Okay, you know what? Sidechain compression is not working for me. My freaking gosh. Okay, we need to find something that's going to cut through a little bit more, in which case I'm going to go to analog brass and winds. Okay, I need always forget how I find it. Okay, let's do stabs. Well, that's something. Well, that's also something. But I don't want the pitch drop like that. Now we're talking. Yep. I mean, that'll do it. Ah. Go. Boom. Ah, no. Good place to put this. I don't think so. I'm gonna listen to the top here. Ooh. That's a good question. This is a really good question here. How is your arrangement so clean? So this is a really good question. So one of the biggest ways you can know if your arrangement is feeling good is you have to be thinking about things in terms of sonic spectrum, or not sonic spectrum, but in terms of like the frequency range. So for example, if we were to go to like the chorus here, we've got piano, which is covering a higher spectrum of frequency, right? So if we've got this, right, so that's higher. Then we've got another thing that's higher as well. This is also more textural, so this is covering something that is different than what the piano is covering. Then we've got the low end here, which is a whole different frequency spectrum. And you need to keep in mind that that bass also has a lot of bite to it, so that's also taking up some space up higher. The strings are also covering a lot more of the mid-range, but also some of the upper spectrum. But there's also something happening different from an articulation standpoint. So when you're thinking about arrangement, there are actually several things that you're thinking about when it comes to arrangement. The very first is the actual frequency, which is nothing more than pitch. Like when we think of frequency, it's really easy to be thinking about frequency like this, like looking at like an EQ. When I'm talking about frequency in terms of the arrangement, I'm talking about frequency specifically as it relates to pitch. How high or how low is it? And a good arrangement is going to have a healthy blend of lows, mids, and highs. And so when you're thinking about this from the perspective of arrangement, that's one component of arrangement. The second component of arrangement is texture, which would be the articulation. What is actually happening with XYZ instruments? So if we're thinking about a piano can articulate a handful of different ways. A piano can play things that are going to function a little bit more like a pad, which would be just whole note chords, right? They can also arpeggiate, they can pluck, they can do all of these different types of articulations. So when we're thinking about arrangement and having a clean arrangement, a big part of it is having a healthy blend of sustain, pluck, and other articulations that are going to fit together to do whatever it is that you want to do in that particular arrangement. So in this case, I'm starting out with a little bit more of a sustained arrangement at the very beginning, right? So if we think about the start here, this is where the vocals would come in. The piano is doing something somewhat melodic, right? This would be kind of like a counter melody. It's going to be pushing against the vocal a little bit, which can be a really useful and powerful thing. It's also a highly repeatable melody, which means this is something that we can continuously come back to throughout the composition. Now, this is composition that we're talking about, which is tied into arrangement, but that piano is playing a counter melodic aspect, right? Everything else is playing a more sustained element. We don't have bass, which means I'm saving the bass for once we get into it a little bit more, right? So then we get to this first chorus, listen what happens, and really pay attention to the actual pitch spectrum. We have more pitch represented in this chorus from the low end all the way to the high end, and the vocals are also going to be in here, which it's a female singer, so she's going to have a higher frequency, right? Higher pitch. We're also going to be processing it to have more breath and more air, so that's also going to be adding some of that shimmer on the top. But on the bottom, we have this nice filtered bass, and then in the middle, we have the staccato strings, which are changing the entire articulation. So if we kind of get into this, I'll start just a couple bars back and then push into the chorus. Really think and pay attention to what are the actual textures that are happening beyond pitch. It's more than just pitch, it's more than just frequency, but it's what are the actual instruments doing that is unique and textural. And here. So all of a sudden now we have something sounding quite a bit more textural here, right? The strings dun 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 dun. But notice here the other powerful thing that we can do with arrangement is actually utilizing duplication, but with just different articulations. Like the piano is doing the same thing the strings are doing. right? But the piano's not doing dun 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 dun. I'm letting the strings do that. The piano is functioning differently, even though it's doing the exact same melodic content. It's got the same melodic content, but it is doing something different functionally in terms of articulation. The strings then take that, we add some rhythm to it, we add that staccato vibe to it, so it's gonna have a little bit more cut, a little bit more of that push, right? And then the only other things we have are these two elements in here, which are a little bit more textural. Right? We got the bass in there. Obviously, that's not textural. That's the bass. I was kind of meaning to show the other two things, but those things are more textural. Those are kind of like the ear candy, if you will. Much less important. Like if those weren't there, it's not the end of the world if it's not there. But those are just kind of adding some of that nuance and intrigue through it. And then I'm applying that same kind of principle, that same kind of concept of arrangement throughout the entirety of the song, and trying to do things in a way where every part of the song has its own unique piece of that arrangement puzzle. Right? So I'm not going to be overly repeating something, because that gets boring. And instead, I want to be pushing and pulling. I want to be utilizing dynamics. I want to be utilizing all these different aspects of arrangement that are going to help make it so that as someone listens to this song, they're not bored out of their mind. They're not thinking, oh yeah, I've heard this already. Oh yeah, I've heard this already. Let's do something different, right? Instead, it needs to be always like, oh, we're going somewhere. Oh, we're going somewhere. Oh, we're going somewhere, which keeps someone really interested in what they're listening to. So we go from this chorus into this instrumental, and notice what happens once we get out of this instrumental right in here into the verse. Everything sparses down. Why? Well, because that's super dynamic. It's going to help make it so that the vocal is going to cut through a lot more, saving room for that. We're also removing the low end, which is making it so that when the low end comes back in, it's very interesting. It's very unique. And so arrangement is a lot more than just like throw stuff in and hopefully it sounds good. It's not a guessing game. It should be strategic. And the better I am, like the more time I spend doing it, the more I can just make these decisions very quickly, right? Like I don't have to think about this stuff as much as I maybe used to. But when you're doing this, you need to be thinking about, okay, like how am I adding push and pull? How am I making so my arrangement is actually truly going somewhere? So let's listen to this instrumental here going into the verse and really pay attention to how there are always these little new things happening every 4 bars to just push the whole thing forward. Something different. No bass. Very simple. It's stripped down here. And then here we go. The low end is here now. I'm not adding strings here. Like I could have added strings, dun 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 dun, but that'd be too much too soon. I want to hold off on that. No. You got to wait till we get to the chorus for you to get to those strings. I want to wait. I don't want to give you too much stuff too soon. If you give too much too soon, it's like showing your hand too early. Like I want to make it so that it's like no. You got to wait till later on in the song to hear the best part, and that is how you keep a listener engaged. That's how you make it so that that last chorus, or as you're getting closer to that last chorus, that's when you get people who are saying, holy crap, that's sick. Don't give it away too soon. If you give it away too soon, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities just purely from an arrangement standpoint. And obviously, how you would mix this is a completely different conversation. But when you're thinking about arrangement and how do you have a clean arrangement, it's not about having a ton of different things going on. It's actually about utilizing smart layering, making sure that you have elements that are covering what the other element does, but doing it in a different type of timbre, a different type of texture, a different articulation. So if we look at this big chorus now, the main thing is that dun 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 dun, right? And the strings, which is doing the exact same thing, is happening in the piano, right? So the exact same thing is happening in the piano. It's just a different articulation. And then we have bigger bass, right? Because I want to amp it up in this chorus. It needs to be amped up. I want it to be brighter, brighter, right? And then we've just got bigger drums, bigger drum production. We have a little bit of a rise in there, nice hit. The cymbals get changed. I have now a hi-hat going on, grooving, a little bit more distortion on that. But other than that, like, this sounds huge, but if you think about it, the piano and all the strings are doing basically the same thing, just different timbre, different articulation, different instruments. We've got two bass elements doing the same thing, but they're just big. We've got this pulsating element here, which is just textural. That's just textural. And then we've got the drums, and drums are kind of its own unique category. But even look at the drums. We have a metal hit, a snare, kick, hi-hat, and that's it. That's all there is. And so when you're thinking about this, you don't need to be thinking about, oh my gosh, I got to throw a bajillion things in here. Like, I've got 58 tracks in here right now. But in this big chorus, I don't have 58 instruments happening. Your arrangements do not need to be so big and so dense that you're utilizing all these tracks. It's all about smart layering. And yeah, I can repeat this all day long until I'm blue in the face, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. When you are arranging, it's about 1, 2, maybe 3 things that you're really trying to get across to your audience, and utilize smart layering, smart articulations, and smart textures, and you will have much cleaner arrangements. Boom. I love talking about that stuff. That's a great question. Dig it. I need to get back to what I was actually doing, which was working on this section in here. I wanted to use some Farlight too. The question about V Collection 9, I have no idea. I don't have it. I mean, that's pretty sick. Jeez. That's kind of funny. I mean, it's cool in theory. Didn't really work. Do I like playing games? Are you asking if I like playing video games? Is that what you're asking? If so, no, I don't play video games. I have kids. Ooh, that's cool. Sometimes you find those cool things. Wait, you really have kids? Yes, I have kids. I have 2 kids and a third on the way. Yep. Oh no, what did I do? Oh, I'm kidding. You can have kids and play video games. That's true. You can. I just don't. This is my video games. Vocal. Oops. Why do I use reverb, meanwhile record session after in the mix? Dylan, you can't have kids play video games and run a successful business. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I couldn't. I'm an obsessive personality, so I know that the things I do, I get obsessed about. So if I were to play video games, it would be a problem because I'm an obsessive personality. Like addictive. Like this is my video games. I just turn this into my business because I know that I can literally do this for 10 hours straight, and that's like video games for some people. This is my video games. Yeah. Heck yeah, baby. More compression, baby. Woo! So tasty. Let's distort this guy. Let's crunch it up. Like I found that if you want to have success, then you have to have discipline, and that's just a requirement. I'm really fortunate to be where I am. I get to do this full time. I get to work on this channel full time. I get to do music full time, and I get to do what I love, and I make more money than I need, and I have employees, and that's been awesome. But it takes a significant amount of sacrifice and extreme discipline. I think most people are just not willing to do what it takes to have success in whatever it is that they want. And I think a lot of that is because of distractions. We have social media, which is a nonstop distraction. And I'm not going to say like how you should live. I'm not going to tell anyone what they should do or how they should live or whatever. But, some of the decisions that got me to where I am today are, obviously it's hard work and dedication. Yeah, all that stuff's great. But like one of the easiest things that you can do to have success in building a business or having a career in something like this, where it relies on you and not someone else paying you, but you building your own career, it is removing distractions. I don't have social media on my phone. I just don't. Don't have Instagram, don't have Facebook, don't have TikTok, none of that stuff. Don't have any of it on my phone. I get up really early and I work immediately. I get up, I make coffee, and I am working by like 6:15 every morning, and I will work till 5. I go to the gym every single day. And I'm not sitting here saying, look at me, I'm awesome. That's not it. I'm just saying it just takes a lot of discipline, and like the things that you train your brain to sacrifice for, those things bleed over into everything else. If you can train yourself to do hard things, then it becomes easier to do the hard things that actually make you money. Boom. There's my life advice for you. So this question about what's Ozone doing on the stereo out. So Ozone is a mastering suite. I just use it to just get basically like a nice rough master while I'm working. But I'm constantly monitoring my gain going in, which is why you can see all my faders are pushed way down, just because I'm not pushing stuff super hard going into it. But it does help me just get a better feeling. Okay, I want to add a nice, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm going to add a nice, I'm going to add some thing, drums, claps. Sure, I like that, that's cool. Quick sampler. You mentioned the vocals are not written yet. How do you write an instrumental like this and make sure you leave space for the vocals later? Okay, so there's a lot of different ways that you can work when it comes to, are you producing with a vocal? Are you producing pre-vocal? All these things. There's always multiple ways to do something. So like, there are going to be a lot of people that's like, you always write the song first and then you produce, and like that's just not a thing necessarily. Like you can top line. So what I'm doing right now is building an instrumental that we're going to build a top line around. And so whenever I'm producing, if you're doing this, if you're actually producing to top line, you need a couple things are really important. The very first thing is you need to make sure that you are structuring your music in equal parts. In other words, you shouldn't have these like random 5-bar phrases. So the actual structure of your production matters so much when you don't have a lyric or melody, because if you add one extra bar to a chord progression, that just doesn't need to be there, it becomes very difficult to write a melody to, because then you just kind of have this like random bar, and melodies are almost always structured in groupings of 4s and 8s. So in other words, you're gonna have a 4-bar phrase or an 8-bar phrase. This really depends on the tempo of the song. In this case, everything is in 4-bar phrases. So I have a 4-bar intro, I have an 8-bar verse, and then I have an 8-bar chorus, and then I have a 4-bar interlude, and then I have an 8-bar verse, and then an 8-bar chorus, 8-bar bridge, 4-bar interlude, and then an 8-bar chorus. So everything is built out. When you are doing a production without having the vocal, you have to be very, very, very intentional about the structure first. Okay, so that's step one. You need to make sure the structure makes sense. If you start doing these wonky like 6-bar phrases, sorry, that's going to be a major, major headache to do. The second thing is that when you are producing, you're thinking about having a vocal. So you might have heard that during this live stream, I've been humming. I'm humming things, even though I don't know what the lyric is going to be. I don't know what the actual melody is going to be. I'm humming things. I'm trying to like ideate within my mind, like what is a vocal actually going to sound like right now with this. And now I'm also trying to mentally think about what a female vocal specifically is going to sound like on this as well. And I know how my singer sounds. So for me, I know what she sounds like. So I can kind of start like mentally picturing what does this sound like with her voice in this, and then making sure that we are building out the arrangement that way. The more you produce music with vocals, the easier it becomes to produce music without a vocal that is ready for vocals. Does that make sense? So when you're producing music, you should be thinking about producing in such a way where you are leaving space for those vocals. If I were to throw a vocal in here right now, would it be too busy? Is there too much happening? Or would this actually make sense? Would this make sense? And what I have found just over the years and years that I've been doing this, more and more and more, I find myself stripping out more things than not. I used to overproduce, and then I'd be wondering why my vocals aren't sitting on top. And it's like, well, because I over-arranged. I just put way too many things into this thing that it just doesn't really work. And so when you're thinking about, okay, how do you go about producing an instrumental where you don't have a vocal, and how are you approaching the thought process of putting a vocal in? Well, there it is. Like, you need to be thinking that, okay, less is more in most cases, in a lot of cases. One of the things that I think is really important is making sure that your low end is where it should be, and then making sure that there is mid-range for the vocal. Especially for male vocals, I think it's more difficult to do this with male vocals, because male vocals are going to be sitting in a lower register, and so as a result, they compete with more. Female vocals are a lot easier to kind of sneak into a production like this. But when you're thinking about arrangement and building an arrangement in a production that does not have a vocal yet, but is going to have a vocal, these are the things that are in your mind. You can get away with more things in the top end than you can in the mid-range. So in other words, you can put more stuff higher up, higher frequency spectrum stuff that's going to be on top of the vocal, that's textural, then you can get away with putting things in the mid-range. The more stuff you throw in the mid-range, and so if you're thinking about this production that I'm working on right now, there's all kinds of space in the mid-range. This piano, it's going to be above the vocals for almost the entire song. The bass is clearly below the vocals. This other thing, higher than the vocals. The strings, even though the strings are now going to be a little bit closer to that mid-range, the strings still are going to kind of cut through, because the actual sound of the bow on the strings is going to be higher than the vocal as well. And so there's plenty of space for the vocal. And the drums, again, drums kind of function quite a bit differently, that it's less often that the drums are competing for space with the vocal. More often than not, it's going to be like a guitar or like a mid-rangey piano or something like that that's going to be really competing with the space for the vocals. So when you're thinking about going about producing and you don't have a vocal, again, be mentally picturing that. This should be on your mind the entire time. I think even last week's live stream when I did this, there were a couple things I was like, nope, taking this out because it's just too busy and I need this vocal to cut through here. And I just ended up taking things away from it. So, in this verse, look at how little is happening in this verse. There is all kinds of space for that vocal, all kinds of space. Yep. So hopefully that helps. Let me know if you had any questions on that front at all. I'd be happy to kind of clarify. Sweet. Anyway, that's my little rant number 2 of the day. Boom. Do I ever make any other genre? Yes. this is just this is what I've been working on a lot more lately because I'm building up a catalog for licensing. So yeah, but yeah, I've done pop, I've done rock, I've done electronic. Yeah, I've done all sorts of stuff. Can I do a live stream or something producing or recording vocals? You know, I almost did last week for the song I'd produced last week. We did a vocal session on Friday, but we had very little time to do it. And so I decided not to add additional stress onto my singer because she only had about an hour and a half for us to run that session. So I decided not to stream last week. But yes, I would love to stream one of our recording sessions. Judah, you're the person who asked that question. I actually have a vocal session on the YouTube channel. So if you go to my videos on my channel, you can look up like vocal session on my channel in the search bar. I actually published, what was I going to say? What was it? Oh my gosh, totally lost my train of thought. I have a vocal session that we published on the channel. It's like over an hour long. You can see like how I run through an entire vocal session. I'll just put this up here for everyone. This is Jeremy. He's in my course, Producer Accelerator. He's referring to Producer Accelerator. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So yeah, I mean, if you guys want to go deep on this stuff, I have an entire course on this, and like, I'm not going to sit here and just be like, buy my course, but you know, I do have a whole program that runs through literally top to bottom every single aspect of this, and we've got multiple people on this chat right now who are members. Dylan Heisler's a member. Jeremy, which is the performing producer, he's a member. We've got plenty. And if you guys want, I have a discount code. Just use the discount code livestream. It's all one word on my website. It's like it's $100 discount. So if you guys want to join, just go to my website, produceracceleratorcourse.com. I have a link in the description of this video. You can use live stream at the checkout, and you can get $100 off. How's that for a deal? Okay, so Dylan, to get to your question here, how do you know when the production is done? Oops. And how do you go back after the vocals and subtract from the production? Yeah, I mean, knowing when something is done is really hard. Like for me, throughout this whole stream, I've been going back and re-listening to things, and really the reason I'm doing that is I'm checking the context. So this is something I'm doing literally all the time. So I'm checking the context of the track from in context, right? So I'm going back, I'm listening to the whole thing. I'm imagining a vocal on top, and I'm thinking, okay, is there anything I am missing here? And there is a certain point where, could you add things? Sure, you can maybe add some more things. But like right now, I think this verse 2 is done. Even though I hear another thing happening in this second half of the verse, I really, I hear another thing going on, but I'm resisting the temptation to put it in because I think there's already enough going on. And I would rather go bigger on the vocal production instead of going bigger on the instrumental production on this. So I think that would be, that's like a big part of it. So it's a really hard question to like answer. How do you know when you're done? Like, I wish there was like hey, like when this happens, then you know you're done. But usually it's more of like, how does this sound in the context? Do I feel good about this? Is this capturing every aspect of what I want to capture with this? Is there anything missing? Like these choruses, I think are pretty much done. I think the only thing I might do is on this last chorus, add some more percussion just to get it sounding a little bit bigger. Probably add some more impacts and hits in the chorus just so that we have a little bit more of that going on. But like this is super, super close to done. So yeah. The other question is like, how do you know, like, what about subtracting afterwards? I think that's just when you go through and you have your vocals and you start working on it. More often than not, it's going to be pretty like evident when you're just thinking like, okay, is this vocal getting buried by something? Is there something else that's just like screaming for attention that takes away from the vocal? Like one of the ways that I think about this is I'm good with one counter melody against the vocal, but then like everything else should be either foundational, meaning it's just like either playing the root of the chord, or it should be something that is like harmonic, which would be just like a chord basically, or outlining a chord of some kind. So like when we look at this chorus here, we've got all these strings are really doing that kind of counter melody thing. Dun 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 dun. This obscura instrument is just harmonic. It's just playing a chord. That's really all it is. It's just, but it's textural, right? Bass is playing the roots of that. The piano, it has more than that counter melody, but like that's pretty much it. And then it's drums. So like if you think about that, there's just not like a ton happening. It's just like I kind of said in my rant earlier, it's just smart layering is really what it is. And so if I were to add another counter melody in here, I think that would probably be too much. If I were to start adding too many things that are playing any sort of like melodic figure, those things pull away attention. And so think about it this way. Our ears can comprehend typically 2 melodies at the same time. Not 3, not 4, 2. So if you only have 1 melody, then that means your ears are going to be focused entirely on that 1 melody. But if you have 2 melodies, you're going to have 1 primary melody and then a counter melody. And that counter melody is really there to kind of like push or pull against that original primary melody. But even then, there is a hierarchy of melody. So you want to have the main melody and then some sort of a interior melody, so to speak, that is pushing against it and adding tension and release. So one of the questions was, where was it? Did I go to music school and would I recommend it? Yes, I did go to music school. I have a degree in music composition. Was it worth it? Let me just put it this way. I did not learn any of the things that I am doing right here, producing wise. I did not learn any of that in school. I did not take a single audio engineering or music production class. And a lot of that was because I started producing when I was 14. By the time I got into college, the guy that taught the production courses, I remember asking him, hey, do you think it makes sense for me to take the audio production classes? And his response was basically no. Like, you're already too advanced to take these courses. Because I'd already been doing it for 4 years. I started working at a studio when I was in college. So to be honest with you, like, I think it's way better to get experience producing music with someone who does produce music. So if you have a chance to work in a studio, do it for free. You don't need to get paid. Learn. Just exchange value for value. Say, hey, I will do whatever you want. Teach me. That's what I did. And it made a huge difference. If you don't have access to that, then honestly, the internet. Like, that's why I built my course Producer Accelerator. I'm not sitting here saying you need to join it. I'm not saying I'm not going to be one of those guys that's like, is this the only way of becoming a pro is by buying my course? Like, I'm not doing that. I don't believe in those types of marketing tactics. You can learn a lot of different ways. My course is one option of many options. So if you want to go to school, great. I just personally think that if you're going to go to schools, most schools are going to be teaching you like 90% stuff that you're not going to be using. What's up, Ben? What's up, bud? We should talk. Texted you. Cool. Anyway. Where is Piper? Oh, yeah. Piper's just chilling here. Hi, Piper. Now she's gonna be like, pet me. Pet me, my human. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to listen top to bottom. I'm going to listen top to bottom. I just want to kind of see if there's anything I'm missing. Dang. This came together a lot faster than last week's. So the question about how did I get work in a studio? So my situation was a little unique. I had the story goes a little bit like this. I was having coffee with a friend, and while we were at coffee, a guy walks in who is the lead man for a band called Voda. He used to play for the Newsboys. He was one of the guitar players for the Newsboys years and years ago. So very, successful. And they knew each other. They were friends essentially. And so I made a comment like, "Oh my gosh, that's Brian Olson," which is his name. And he's like, "Oh, do you know Brian?" I'm like, "No, I've never met him." Like, "But I love his band." And I'd seen them live and stuff. And he was like, "You want to meet him?" I was like, "Well, sure, that'd be sweet." So I met him. And it was this very casual, just like, "Hey, this is Nathan. Hey, Nathan, Brian, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then we finished our coffee. Brian is sitting down in the corner, and I'm getting ready to leave. He's by himself, just sipping a cup of coffee. And I'm like, I got to take my shot. I got to take my shot. And at that time, I was already making money making music, but I was really wanting to figure out how to like push my career further. A lot of the work I was doing at that point was composing and not necessarily producing. I was doing some production work. I was doing stuff for like not television, but commercial work. But I knew the quality of my music wasn't where it needed to be. I just knew that like it's not where it should be. And so I was just like, okay, I'm going to take my shot with this guy. And so I literally like went up to him and was like, "Hey, Brian." He's like, "Oh yeah, what's up?" I'm like, "Hey, like, can I just like pick your brain for like a minute?" And he was like, "Yeah, what's up?" He was super nice about it. And I was like, "Well, I'm going to school right now for music composition, and I really want to be a producer. I'm already taking work. I'm already doing it. Like I'm making money doing it, but I just like my production quality is not really like radio quality, and I just know it's not where it needs to be. I want to be working on like top tier stuff. And I don't know if you have any thoughts or advice for me. Like, how can I improve? How can I get better?" And he basically was like, "Well, first of all, like your degree doesn't mean a thing." That was like the very first thing he said to me, like, "Your degree doesn't matter. Like, don't ever use that when you're trying to get work. If you tell someone you have a music degree, most of the people who are actually successful in the music industry don't have a degree. They're not going to give a crap. Like, don't use that." Which is great advice, by the way. I took that advice. I've never once used my music degree as leverage to get work, because no one gives a crap. Literally no one gives a crap. If you have a degree, if you went to audio engineering school, no one freaking cares. That is the best advice you could ever get. No one cares. You know what they do care about? Can you or can you not? That is literally it. They don't care if you learned on GarageBand. They don't care if you have a tiny closet studio. All they care about is, do you have the goods? Can you make the music? Can you do the thing? And that is it. That is the only thing people care about. So I have never once used my degree as leverage. I've never once mentioned it in terms of like getting work. It has always been, this is my music. Do you like it? Yes or no? Right? So that was the first thing. And then he was like, "Do you know Phil Zock?" So Phil Zock was very successful, probably one of the most successful producers in my area. He was working on a lot of big stuff with like Family Force 5 and he just knew kind of everybody, and he had a studio in town, and he was like, "Do you know Phil Zock?" I'm like, "Well, I know Phil Zock, but I don't know Phil Zock." Right? Like, I know who he is. And he was like, "Here's his number. Good to give him a call." And then he gave me the advice I've given you. Go work for free and learn. That's it. Just become valuable to him and he'll teach you. That's it. And so that's what I did. I called him. I got home. I called him that same day. And my heart was like thumping in my chest. I was terrified. I was very scared. I'd never talked to him before. I had seen him live in shows because he used to be in a pretty successful band. I knew who he was. I knew what he worked on, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like terrified because I'm like, oh my gosh, like what if this guy just like laughs at me and whatever. I call him, and this is how the call goes. I call him and he answers like, "Hello?" This is like this question mark, "Hello?" And I'm like, "Hey, is this Phil Zock?" And he's like, "Yeah." It's like, "My name's Nathan Larson. Brian Olson told me to give you a call. And I am in college. I'm, 19, 20, like 20 years old. And I'm a music producer, but I really want to get better. And I just want to learn. Like, is there any chance that I could learn from you?" And so I That's like how it went. And his response was absolutely hilarious. He was just like, yeah, man, you want to come over like right now? He's like, yeah, man, want to come over like right now? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I went to, he's like, well, here's where I'm located. He told me where to go and where to park and blah, blah, blah. And I go and I walk in and he stands up and he's like, yo, dude, what's up? And he's like, comes and gives you a hug, like just like a nonchalant, like not weird, just like kind of like a, you know, like, what's up, dude? Nice to meet you, whatever. And it's like, he didn't even do the whole, like, tell me about yourself. What do you want to do? All this stuff. He just like looks at his watch, you know, kind of looks at the time and he's like, do you know how to edit drums? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know how to do it in Pro Tools because I use Logic. He's like, all right, sit down in the chair. So I sit down. He's like, all right, here are the hotkeys. He just quickly runs through the hotkeys with me. And he's like, here you go. I was like, all right, cool. He's like, just do a couple edits real quick. Just show me that you got it. So I did, you know, cut, crossfade, blah, 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 like just typical drum editing. And if you don't know how to edit drums or edit audio, you should 100% know how to, because it is extremely valuable. Because we were working on I think a Remedy Drive record. So he was working on. And so, you know, anyway. So I'm like, show him. He's like, all right, cool. I'm going to go work out. See ya. I'm like, what the heck is happening right now? Like, what is going on? He literally just leaves, and like just goes, works out, and comes back like an hour later. He's like, all right, let's check your work, man. And that was like the start of that whole relationship. Yeah, that was the start of that relationship. So it was pretty funny. And I learned so much from him. Like, honestly, I learned so much from him. And some of the biggest lessons that I learned working with him was the insane speed that he worked. Like when I do these live streams, I get people saying like, I can't believe you're basically producing a whole track like in one sitting. And it's like, that's pretty much how it goes. Like if you're around people who actually do this for a living, this is very normal. This is very, very, very normal. Like it is not uncommon to whip out a full blown radio ready track in a day. That's the pace that you have to be able to work at. And that taught me how to do that. And I learned how to do that by watching, by observing, by being a fly on the wall, and then by doing it. And some of the biggest things that I learned through that experience was like a lot of the crap that people get concerned and worried about is just not important. You start to really figure out what to actually focus your time on and what to spend your time on when you're in a situation where you absolutely have to get it done. When you're in a position where you have to work fast, you start making very different decisions. There's no more tinkering. There's no more tweaking. There's no more like agonizing for an hour over a sound. You don't have that luxury of time. And so that's where you start getting really good at identifying sounds very quickly, which is an experience thing. There's an experience component to that. It does not happen overnight. It takes time to train your ears to identify great sounds. But once you can figure that out, it's like you just cannot waste time on stupid crap. You'll notice, like I basically did this whole track here, right, live. How much time did I waste on anything? I didn't waste any time. There's no time to waste. I'm trying to finish. And so I just think that that's like one of the big things that I learned working at a studio was the time crunch. There would be times I would come in, and I remember one very specific scenario where I came in. It was like 9 o'clock in the morning. Phil was already there, and he already had like 3/4 of a track done. And I'm like, what the heck is this? I haven't even heard this yet. And he was like, I got a call to write a Coca-Cola commercial, and I've been here all night. And the track was like basically done because he was like, they need music by the afternoon. And you know what? I have done those jobs. I have gotten those texts from like a studio saying, yo, we have this commercial. We need music like freaking right now. And it has to be at a very high level. And that's just how that industry works. It's extremely fast paced. These the commercial side of the industry, they wait till the last possible second for music. Like the last possible second for music, and then say, oh crap, we need music right now. And then they're expecting to get like a radio hit, right? Tomorrow. And so I did a Quilted Northern commercial that I landed last year, and I had 1 day to write the music, and I did 2 versions, like 2 completely separate tracks. So speed is like the name of the game. You don't have time to waste. And when you start getting into a situation where you have to get it done, you make different decisions than if you feel like, oh, I got a month, I got a week, I got 10 days, I got whatever. You need to impose rigid schedules on yourself. So for me, when I have something like this, I usually give myself 1 day. I started this yesterday just so I could send a little bit of a rough demo to my co-writer so she could hear it. And then we kind of tossed some ideas yesterday. I sat on it in the afternoon, mainly because I knew that I wanted to finish this live today. But it's done. It's done. I'm gonna send this to her when we're done with the stream. I'm gonna be texting this to her. I mean, not a session, but a bounce. I'm gonna bounce this out and I'm gonna text it to her. Say, yo, here we go. Let's get vocals done. And then when we get the vocals done, it'll be very fast. And then the mix will be very fast. And so I don't spend a lot of time. I will produce over 100 songs this year. I will write, produce, mix, and distribute over 100 songs this year. And that's not me patting myself on the back, saying I'm awesome. It's just, again, and that's not even like that much compared to what some producers are doing. I'm doing that on top of running a business. That is not actually this. And again, I'm not saying that to be like, look at me, I'm awesome. That's not what I want your takeaway to be. I want your takeaway to be, this is possible. That should be your takeaway. This is doable. You can write fast. You can produce fast. You can get extremely great quality fast. This is very, very standard within the industry to be able to work this fast. Okay. Scott had a question. Have you ever had problem with writer's block or just trouble getting motivated? Yes, all the time. I think this is definitely one of those things that there are some things that you can do to avoid it. Actually, it was interesting. At the end of last week, I was wanting to write some music and I was just having a really hard time. With things. And so here's some suggestions, ways to beat writer's block. The very first is listen to music. Listen to a lot of music. I have, I go to the gym every day, and when I go to the gym, I listen to music, and I'm finding playlists with music that I've never heard before specifically, and I am shuffling them, and then I am adding songs that I like that are really different and unique, that are doing something unique that maybe I've never done before. I add that to a playlist, and that becomes an inspiration playlist. So when you're thinking about, man, I'm feeling really stuck, I'm feeling blah 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 blah, literally go find a Spotify playlist that you have never listened to and that you know is going to have a lot of music that you have never heard before in a style of music that you would like to create. Start going through it, shuffle it, and whenever you find a song that actually stops you in your tracks and you're like, ooh, dang, that's really good. Melodically, it's really good. Lyrically, it's really good. Those sounds are crazy. The drums are crazy. Some other things like that. That's when you take that and you add that to an inspiration playlist. I do this every single day. Every single day, I am exploring new music that I've never heard before. Specifically, I don't go re-listen to my favorite songs because it's a waste of time. I've already heard them. They're already baked into my brain. Why would I go listen to them again? Because then they're just going to make me sound like all the things that I've ever done before. I want to sound like something new. I want to hear things that are like, whoa, that's different. I've never heard that before. That's super unique. And so that right there is why I really encourage people to go find playlists that you've never heard before with new music, shuffle it, and then add those songs to another playlist that you create that's going to be for inspiration to help you get new ideas. That's the very first thing. The second thing is that there is a difference between burnout and taking a break. Taking a break is very healthy. I like this song right here. I had the start of this song after giving myself a couple days to just breathe without writing anything. I was mixing stuff, and I'll get to that point in a second because there's another really good point here. I gave myself a breather from writing and producing new stuff. And that allowed me to kind of just regenerate. Like, you have to think about our creative ability as like a cup of water, that when you drink a cup of water, you're losing water at every time. So whenever you write something, whenever you produce something, you are tapping into a well of creativity that is finite. It is not infinite. You do not have an infinite amount of creativity at any given time. And it is very normal that you're going to have a very large expenditure of creative energy sapped and ripped out from you because you're pouring so much into something, maybe a song, maybe 2 songs, maybe 5 songs, it doesn't matter. But everyone is going to have a certain amount of creative energy that they can tap into. And then when you tap into that, you got to replenish it. So you can replenish it by taking a break. You can replenish it by listening and analyzing and really listening to music, like not as a casual listener, but as the type of listener where you're thinking, I want to learn from this. Like, what things can I actually pull from this and utilize as inspiration? That brings me to the next point. The other thing that you should do is you should always have songs in different stages of production. This is what we call just being efficient. If you have all songs, like 10 different songs that are all in different stages of production, that right there is going to help you when you are feeling writer's block. Because maybe you're feeling creatively stuck with writing music. Great. Mix something. Have something that's in that mixing post-production phase that you can go to. That's what I did the first start of this week, Monday, Tuesday, this week. I was finishing up mixes. So I finished three mixes that they're shipped off for mastering now. And so I highly recommend that you have songs that are all in different phases, different stages. I have some songs that are literally just piano and in a lyric or a melody, and that's it. And I know I'm going to come back to that when I'm ready to come back to that. But then I have these songs that are like this, that's all the way in the produced phase, ready for vocals. And I have other songs that are literally just voice memos on my phone. Having things in different sections, different places is going to help you be in a situation where when you feel stuck, you can afford to be stuck for a couple days. Because you're not actually stuck, you're just working and diverting that attention and energy somewhere else. The last thing I would say for writer's block is study theory. I know that that's like kind of controversial, but like there's no negative to studying theory. There is no negative, none. Like whenever I hear people say like, oh, if I learn theory, it's going to strip me of creativity. Like, I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, I'm sorry. If you believe that, that's freaking stupid. Like it's not intelligent. I studied theory. There's a lot of theory that I know that I'm never going to use. I'm never going to use matrix-based theory in my music. This is dumb. I'm never going to use it. Does that make me less creative? Of course not, because I just choose not to use it. So this is one of those things that I think that if you can learn chords, harmony, melody, understand rhythm, that's invaluable. If you learn theory, you're really ultimately learning how to pull the curtain back from music and understand what's happening, the gears, the intricacies of what is happening with music. This song right here is utilizing a chord progression that's not a very typical chord progression. Why? Well, because I know how to. I know how to because I've studied theory and I know what I can do. I know how to utilize things like mode mixture. I know how to utilize modulation in a way that's not going to sound bad. And I know how to do that because I've studied theory. There's no negative to studying theory. I think the problem with theory is that most universities teach it in a very sterilized and mathematical way and not a creative way. If you can learn theory through the lens of composition, through the lens of how to actually make and write better music, that is the best way to learn theory. If you're learning theory as just a mathematical equation, don't do parallel fifths because parallel fifths, blah, blah, blah. You should focus on contrary motion. In some ways, sure, that's great. That's fine. That's all fine and dandy. But if you're approaching it like a science, not good. That's the big beef, the big problem I have with music schools. I went to music school. I took 4 years of music theory. I took very advanced music theory. And the problem I experienced was that most of it is just geared in such a way that it is basically like math. And I think that is a horrible way of approaching music theory because that's how you get people who hate music theory. That's how people hate it. You need to be approaching music theory through the lens of how can I actually just make better music with this? So that's something that I've been working on, trying to think through, like, how can I build content around that? Because it is a little bit of a niche topic, but it's related. So yeah, I can get on that for a while. But as far as tackling writer's block, if you're doing all of those things strung together in combination with each other, I think you're going to find that you can put out a huge amount of music. It's about efficiency. It's about thinking strategically. So when I'm working on music, I'm working on a large swath of music. At one time, they're all in different parts of the process, so that if I'm feeling stuck in one, I can go to the other. And that typically is going to kind of jumpstart the other thing that I'm feeling stuck with. Hopefully that helps you. Boom. I'm on a roll. I'm on a roll with this stuff. When I get talking about this stuff, I get so excited about it. This question, this is kind of what I just covered right now. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is my life. Any advice for how to find a producer or composer to work for? I would look it up on the internet. Like, I mean, look up who you have available around your area. Unfortunately, not everyone's going to have one in your area, which is why like online education is a good thing if you don't. But yeah, just look up in your area if there are any studios around, and then listen to music that they've made, and then you can make a call. I know that's kind of like that's like simplified in a way, but it yeah, I wish it was easier. I wish it was easier than just like, I wish it was like, oh, everybody could just find a producer to work with. Unfortunately, that's why I've said like, I can't prescribe what I did to everybody, because not everyone's going to have that opportunity. And you can have like teachers that you don't ever meet one-on-one personally directly. Like, again, not just trying to pitch my course, but that's why I built Producer Accelerator. Okay. So that way there is an option for those who don't have that same capability. Can the V9 collection sound like that? There's been a lot of questions about the V9 selection. I don't have that. So like, honestly, I don't know. Like I've never used it before. So this is not a question I can answer. This is a little bit of a side note. I'm not calling out Kevin the Man at all by this, but like a lot of people just assume I have everything. I don't. There's a lot of stuff I don't have. Which if anything should actually be encouraging to you. How will you teach modes creatively? That's a deep question. Yeah, I don't know if I'd have time to get into all that right now. I mean, like, understanding modal music is, yeah, it's a little bit difficult to talk about in one go here. Tiago, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. The recordings of all my live streams go up after we're done with the live streams. So yes, you'll be able to see the recording. Cool. Sweet, guys. Well, tell you what, last chance for some questions. Yeah. Okay. So where do you start shopping your music to potential buyers when you have completed songs? So I think that's not really the right way of thinking about it. That's not how I think about it. So the way I think about it is, so again, like you need to think about what your music is for. Like what's the use going to be? For me, it's licensing, it's sync licensing. So we're building catalogs of music that we are then throwing into either catalog libraries like audio. I'm in the process right now of hopefully working out a relationship with a new sync agency. I'm not going to go into that specifically, but I mean, sync agencies are big. So if you're making music for sync, then you need to get an agency. You need to get into a catalog. That could be Soundstripe, Epidemic, Artlist, Audio. There's like literally just like hundreds of them. There's tons and tons and tons of them. So like if you're making music for licensing, you're not shopping it. You're building a relationship with people who are going to be able to pitch your music for television or pitch your music for sync, which is just using your music in video. So to kind of answer your question, like that's what I'm doing. That's what my focus is right now. That's really what this whole year is about, really amping up my catalog for licensing. What do you do if a song is not working out? That's a good question. I put it away. And I have no problem doing that. And I, by the way, I don't have a problem bailing on a song if I'm just like, this isn't working. You don't do that a lot. You should try to finish stuff. But like, I have a song right now I'm working on with the same singer I'm doing this song with. We started working on it, and I basically told her, like, you know what, like, I'm having a hard time, like, really feeling this. Let's just put a pause on this and let's work on this other one. And so we'll come back to it. We'll give it a shot. But like, I have no problem putting something down and taking a break. VO1 Beats, do you have a day when you'll be normally live streaming? I'm kind of thinking Wednesdays, which is today, obviously. I'm thinking Wednesdays. I'm also considering live streaming twice a week, in which case I'd probably do like a Monday and a Wednesday. Just because, again, like I'm already making music. So in a way, it's like, why wouldn't I just go ahead and live stream and show you guys what I'm doing? So Kartik, what do you prefer, writing lyrics or making a beat? Well, I don't make beats. I produce songs. So I think that's the first thing. I know there's kind of like the beat making world. I'm not a beat maker. Okay. I'm a composer, and I'm a writer, and I'm a producer. I do kind of see those as a little bit separate, a little bit different. But producing the instrumental is what I love the most, for sure. But as far as like order, it just depends on the song. It depends on the vibe. It depends on 100 different factors. Do I have a video on how to organize my mixer? No. I just do whatever makes the most sense for you, I guess. I just don't think it's that important. Any thoughts on the best music distribution platform? I mean, I think DistroKid's probably the best. That's what I use. But I couldn't really like articulate between like CD Baby or any others. How can you pitch your release for a playlist? Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways. I'm not an expert on that, so I just won't even talk about it because I'm just not an expert at it. And my goal isn't increasing streaming numbers, just to be clear. Like, I don't really care about streams at all. I care about licensing. Do you think your ears get dull? Like when you hear music, you need to make the song louder? Do you think your ears get dull? Like when you hear music, you need to make the song louder? I mean, there's no question that your ears get dull. Yeah, I mean, your ears are 100% going to get dull as you work. So that's why I think you should take a break. How to compose more compared to beat making? Well, I mean, like beat making oftentimes is more like loops based. I just don't do any loops based music at all. I'm again, like I'm composing like a fully structured track. There are plenty of people who will say they make beats, but then still are like doing stuff like this, but they'll still call it a beat. So there is a terminology thing where it's like, are you a beat maker or are you a producer? Well, they can be both, right? Like at the same time, like beat makers are producers, but like when I think about beat making, there's a connotation that comes along with that it's typically hip hop and that kind of genre. And that's not the kind of music that I make. And so more often than not, like when you're thinking about like beat makers, I'm thinking about people who are like selling beats, basically trying to get rappers on stuff. Again, that's just not what I do. All my music is 100% custom, 100% custom. I do not sell my instrumentals. I do not let other people sing on things unless I am directly involved with writing. So that's really the big differentiating factor. I do not put out these instrumentals for anyone to use. I will not, and I'm not okay with that. What are your best sounds? I mean, how long do we have? That would just take so long to talk about. I have like hundreds of sound libraries. So I don't know. I mean, like Native Instruments probably has the best overall quantity of sounds. Hammers and Waves is probably my favorite keyboard library right now. For strings, I really like the Chamber Strings. Abbey Road is really good. The Native Instruments Symphony is really good. For drums, Butch Vig, Damage, Studio Drummer, Battery 4. Yeah. Why am I not okay with that putting out the... No. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying I don't put out instrumentals. I'm saying I don't put out instrumentals for other people to put their vocals on. The instrumentals are totally used in licensing more than with vocals. Background music is more common. So what I was specifically talking about is beat makers are making music that they put out, and then like any rapper or any singer can like get that beat and then sing on it, right? And they're just mixing their vocals to the beat. I'm saying I don't do that. I find singers to work with that I work with, and then I get them into my studio and we make music together. So everything I'm working on right now is collaborative. So I am an equal partner in the songs, or a greater than equal. Is there a reason for not wanting others to sing over? Yeah, because I'm a snob. No, I'm kind of kidding. I think it's just philosophical. I think the hip hop world, that's like the way it's done, and that's just not the way it's done in my world. So I just don't like the idea of other people using my instrumental and then me not knowing what they're doing with it. Or yeah, I'm the type of person where I need to have creative control over what I'm working on. You can call me OCD. You can call me a control freak. I really don't care. That's fine. I agree with all that, but at the same time, it's totally true. I am, because it's my music. And I think that unfortunately in the time that we live right now, we're really missing out on ownership. People put out music and then you got all these rappers and people basically stealing music. I'm not okay with that. I believe in ownership. I poured my heart and soul into my music. I'm not going to be okay with just anyone using it. It's not good with me. It's not okay with me. I made this. This is my track, my song. That means I get to decide what happens to it. And I'm not okay with other people singing on it unless I give the green light for them to sing on it. So yeah, rappers steal beats and I hate it. Pisses me off. That's wrong. And if you're one of those people taking beats from people without paying for it or whatever, yeah. So, again, and not only that, but here's the thing. I have songs that I am looking for a very specific voice for. Okay? Like I have a song right now that I have that I have not worked with I have not worked with a vocalist yet because I have not yet found who I want to have sing on it, because I need a very specific sound for it. And so like I have vocalists that I work with that I know their tone, I know their character, and I know what I'm looking for in that. And so like I've got my circle, if you will, like my inner circle of singers that I'm going to work with. And it's a tight circle. Like I just don't work with a lot of different people. Because I'm just super, super picky. I'm very picky. And I've also worked with so many singers over the years that when I find a singer who is incredibly easy to work with, where we can just knock out a session and they're like totally good with the criticism, they can take it, like doggone, I work with them a lot. And that's one of those things where like I've had singers come in the studio and they're making mistakes. They're not prepared. They can't sing to a click track. They can't do this. They can't do that. I need more of this. I need more of that. And they're really picky about everything, or they get nervous or whatever. All that's fine. I'm sorry, but I'm just not in my studio. Sorry. Like I'm looking for a pretty specific type of talent. And I know that comes across potentially as really cocky or arrogant or whatever. I don't mean it that way. It's just, there is a difference between making music that you believe is going to be done at an incredibly high level and not. And if you are making music just kind of like, okay, oh yeah, I'll just work with anyone. I'll just make music with anyone. Oh, they want to make music, they can sing. Okay, cool. Like you get them in the studio and then you're wondering why it doesn't sound great. It's like, because you're not being picky enough. I fundamentally believe that if your singer is not top tier talent, it's not going to sound professional. Like your instrumental could be fire, but if you get a singer who's not top tier talent, who can't just knock it out of the park, yeah, I don't. So I don't do music for anyone. Absolutely not. I get DMs all the time asking me to produce artists. I say no to 99% of them. Sorry. Bridger, do I have a video on licensing copyright? No, I don't. And that's because like for my channel, like I'd rather just talk about the actual art of producing and not the business. That's just not something I'm interested in talking about, to be totally honest with you. If you want to look into licensing, there's tons of other channels that talk about licensing. There's Sync My Music. He's good. Who else? There's That Pitch. I think Mark Eckert has a podcast or something like that. Mark and I are friends, and he owns That Pitch, or Pitch That, or That Pitch. I don't know why I said Pitch That. So, I mean, just like copyright's not the same thing as licensing. So licensing is just basically buying permission to use music in some capacity. That's what licensing is. So unless it's a buyout situation, which does happen, by the way, you will see that. You'll see buyout situations where they'll buy the copyright of the song because they don't want to pay royalties in the back, but then those payouts are a lot higher. Jeremy, how long is your typical session with the vocalist? Again, it kind of depends on quality of the singer, but no more than 2 hours. Yeah, never more. I mean, like the song we did last week was about an hour. It was an hour. We also didn't have a ton of vocal layers on that one either. It depends on vocal layering. If there's a lot of layers, then longer. After how long do you think a beginner's music might start sounding good? That depends on a million different factors, to be honest with you. So I couldn't say. It depends. Yeah, it could be 3 months. It could be a year. It could be 5 years. It just depends. They say music production is oversaturated, but it's really only in terms of how many. I don't think it's saturated. I mean, I think it's saturated with a lot of crap. If you're actually making great music, trust me, you'll stand out. Oh, that's a good question. Do I have personal feelings behind the songs I produce? Not really. I'm a finish it and move on. I'm a finish it and move on person. When I finish something, I don't feel it anymore. I feel it when I do it, and when it's done, it's done. I move on. I think that's a personality thing. I don't think everyone is that way. I'm just personality wise the type of person that, like, this song is like, once we get vocals done in this song and once I get it mixed, I'll be like, all right, cool, it's done, bye. Like, moving on to the next one. So including gangs and harmonies, yes. Is it really tough to mix vocals with a 2-track beat? No, I don't know, but I never do that. I never do that. So, Mike, do I still use Lander? No, not for mastering. No, I have a mastering engineer I work with now exclusively. Would I ever do a stream listening to our tracks to critique? I do that every week inside my private community, Feedback Friday, which is a big part of what we do in my course, Producer Accelerator. So would I do that here? Probably not, but I do that every week in our course. You have a couple of unfinished songs, you never finish them. Yeah. How much money do I make? Enough. How would I classify an intermediate producer? That's a good question. I think intermediate producers are gonna understand how to get great source. They're gonna understand, editing, basic mixing. They're probably gonna have really good sounding stuff that, if you compare to from an intermediate to an expert, it's gonna be a little bit harder to determine the difference. And the differences become more and more nuanced. So going from like a beginner to intermediate, it's a very big jump. There's a lot of differences from beginner to intermediate. From intermediate to expert, it's a lot more nuanced. It's a lot more subtle. Will you ever do a video about your first bad beats? Maybe. Unfortunately, the hard drive that I had saved all my old sessions from like a decade plus ago died, and I didn't have backups, which is a good lesson for you. Have backups on more than one location. So yeah, I lost sessions from that. That was very sad. Let's just say my music's quite a bit better, like a lot better. By the way, I have this on the bottom. You can text me if you want to get notifications about when I go live. I promise not to spam you. We'll only send you texts about streams. Why modern music sucks? I mean, I just don't believe that I just don't buy into that. I'm not a Rick Beato type person. I just don't believe that modern music sucks. Like, some of it sucks. There's a lot of music I think that does suck, but I'm not going to categorically say modern music sucks. I just don't believe that. How many songs have you made in your lifetime as an estimate? Oof. 1,500 plus, probably. How long have you been producing? 14 years. Is there an opt-out if we later decide to unsubscribe? Yeah, you can just text the word stop. Yeah, if you text the word stop, we'll take you off. It's like anything else. Like if you go to like a doctor and you're like, hey, like we're going to let you know when your appointment is. Just text stop anytime. Where do you release these songs? Modern day music is heavily dumbed down. Joe, sure. I mean, you can say that. That's fine. I don't disagree that it's dumbed down, but I think that a little more of a nuanced conversation than just it's categorically dumbed down. Where do I release these songs? So most of it I've done is either for someone else or for commercial use or use in film. How many songs have you produced for other artists? Oh, I don't know. I don't know the number. I haven't produced other artists as a producer doing client work in a long time. It's been a couple years. It's your biggest placement. Did a commercial last year for Quilted Northern. That's probably one of the bigger ones. How does a song sound, more pop or more hip hop? I mean, I think a lot of it's the sound choices. How do you know what textures to add just listening to good music? I feel like that would be a longer topic of conversation. I think that's, yeah, that would be a longer topic. Am I on Spotify? Yeah, if you look me up, NJL. I just started releasing music this last like a month ago as an artist. I just have not released music as an artist because that wasn't something I was interested in doing. There's a really big difference between releasing music as an artist and releasing music as a producer. Jay, you see mostly cinematic stuff from me. Do you do any other genre? Yeah, I do pop, rock, electronic, cinematic, but like pretty much everything I do at this point is has a cinematic kick to it or flavor to it. Is there a real difference in DAWs between like Ableton and FL? No. I mean, yes, but it's going to be pretty nuanced stuff. How long was the Quilted Northern song? It was 30 seconds. Which app did you have as a beginner? GarageBand, and then a year after I got Logic. All right, I'll play this one more time, and then we're going to end it. Lots of questions, and I need to kind of start wrapping up. Here we go. Boom. There we go. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. This is fun. The recording will be up, and if you want to go back and rewatch or any of that stuff, you can feel free to do so. Thanks for all hanging out. This is fun. I'm going to start doing this every single week, and we might even start doing it twice a week. Who knows? So, all right. I know you guys all have questions because people are still jumping in. We're done with questions. We'll see you next week. Let's see you guys.